back to the 7th grade Mustache. On today's episode, we're speaking about surveillance capitalism. Surveillance capitalism is of high importance because it is invisible to most people. Most people don't think to even dig deeper than the surface. The problem is convenience has replaced religion as the opiate of the masses. We're so busy being entertained, and with the entertainment experience, we don't notice the experiments and studies that are being conducted on our behavior and our pattern metadata. So this goes back to 2001. We had September 11th, and it was the Patriot Act that created a whole bunch of laws that caused the erasure of our privacy. And we have not got those rights back. Actually, there was several amendments made to the Patriot Act. The most recent being about 3 months ago. Bill passed to renew the Patriot Act as it is and not to change it at all. And it passed by one vote. The one politician that was not present to vote, who claimed to be a champion of the people, was Bernie Sanders. To this day, he does not comment on why he did not make it and why he did not vote on the Patriot Act renewal. So, on we go. On we go to 2002. Because in 2002, Google is really the one that is responsible for the rise of surveillance capitalism. They took advantage of the Patriot Act and warrantless wiretapping. And in their cooperation with government bodies, they began to monitor internet usage and cell phone usage. But it wasn't until the introduction of the iPhone, and then after that, the Android phone, where they were able to collect this metadata. How long you talk, what websites you visit on your phone, how often or how fast you type your text, type of words you choose. All this information is considered big data, and this information is being collected and used against you. So when people get these cell phones, they don't consider the fact that if it's an Android, it's damn near free. It's damn near free unless you want a phone that has all the bells and whistles, a phone that was built to compete with the iPhone, such as a Samsung Galaxy, right? But the thing is, this is all a ploy, and people are falling for the carrot that is dangling in front of their face, going out and updating their phones, buying new phones every year. When actuality,
I think it goes back to it goes back to Japan a while
but
about
hang
2
on,
years
hold,
ago.
hold,
I
hold,
remember
hold,
they made a big
hold,
deal.
hold that thought for 1 second. The thing is that phones are damn near free now. You can go buy a phone for $20. The reason why is that Google saw that with the introduction of the Android phone, they could literally mine data from its users 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if the data is more valuable than the phone, let's give the phones away. Let's make them free. Let's give the free phones to homeless people so we can get all this data, all this metadata, and mine it and use it and sell it to third parties. What are you going to say now?
Before the smartphone phenomenon hit America with the iPhone and Android, they were already kind of doing this stuff in Japan, where they were discussing how intimate the cell phone had become. How you had scanners on it. You had a lot of other stuff that they were doing in Japan that just never got here. And the intimacy was something I think that Google and these big companies saw over in Asia, like, hey, you know what? We can use that to our advantage. Now, something else that me and you had talked about years ago, about 2 years ago, actually, we were talking about how, and I think we saw this when it came to COVID, how the stock market was kind of artificially propped up. There were 3 or 4 companies or 10 companies doing very well, and the rest were doing really mediocre. And one of those companies we had talked about was Google. And the thing that helped prop Google up, the thing that helped prop Facebook up, the government bought a bunch of stock in those companies. So it's something that people don't understand, and I don't know when that happens. So I don't want to give the dates because I don't know the dates when the government start buying stock in these companies. But if you think about one thing, by the government buying stock in certain companies, we get that it artificially helps the economy, that it boosts the economy. But if you pay attention, if you're buying stock in these data companies, well, then that means you don't need a warrant. Now, even with the Patriot Act being in place, Snowden, that's when all that stuff with Snowden came out. That's the guy that worked for the CIA or worked for NSA, excuse me, and he let all this information out that the government had been monitoring heads of state, but they had also been monitoring in just individuals. And these weren't individuals on the quote unquote terror list. These were just mom and pop, how you doing, Ralph and Linda. They're monitoring everybody. And so with the onset of the Patriot Act and terrorism, we're thinking that, okay, terrorism is the big scheme from having liberty. You can't even live. And I think the other thing that people didn't notice when this election started, when they started campaigning, remember Andrew Lang? Andrew Wang? He was the Yang, so Andrew Yang, the Asian guy. He was big on like, hey, you should be able to make money off your digital shadow.
Yep.
They gather all this information. You're a straw man. You're like a digital straw man, and you're in this information. And all these companies pine for your information. They're buying information, but how come you're not receiving payment from that? And he was talking about everybody receive a check for their information, and I don't think people got that. I'm like, look, he's trying to give you money for the information that's being fought over by these mega corporations. Last but not least, if when people don't understand how important that data is, how important your digital shadow is, if they don't get how important that is, that's because again, we've been desensitized to people stealing your privacy. But I'm gonna give a prime example. This is people might not get this, but if as a black man, you know about Henrietta Lacks. Now, we talk about Henrietta Lacks every once in a while, but she's the black woman where they took her cells she had cancer. They took her cells from her uterus, and that's what they used to make all these vaccines. Whenever you see on the internet that, hey, there's cancer cells in that vaccine. Well, yeah, there really are. They're Henrietta Lacks' cells.
She was basically like a female version of Wolverine with a healing factor.
Well, her cells would not die, and they've used them 1,000 billion. They literally made like billions Wolverine. Of dollars off this. But exactly, very much like the healing factor. But let me explain why this is important. Her family is in abject poverty. Her family is batshit broke. The projects in Maryland where she lived, her family still lives there. Four generations later. The point I'm trying to make is that this is not intellectual property. This is her physical property, and they won't even give her family money. These medical companies won't even give their family money. So that's my point. Can you imagine how this data is? That these big corporations won't even give you money for your own data, but they'll pay each other for your data. Like what are your spending habits? And we all experience that shit where me and my homeboy, me and Roscoe be talking about, hey man, I need to buy some gloves, and all of a sudden I see an advertisement on Facebook for leather gloves. And we're like, what a coincidence. That's not a fucking coincidence, you jackass. That is these ears everywhere. This is your phone always being on. This is the internet in your car. This is your computer having a microphone, and they're monitoring your conversations, and they see those as opportunities to make money. So when you start talking about something, of course an advertisement pops up. You're like, that's convenience. That's what my brother just told you. We have basically sold our souls for convenience. My daughter, she was in school. She was in a special program. They give her one of these virtual assistants, one of these Google things, and she's using it. I'm like, why you even have that in your home? I'm like, darling, I said, baby, you read all these goofy books. Ain't you read 1984? They had that kind of shit in 1984 where they were always monitoring you. You could not turn your TV off. You could not. I'm like, nah, it's not a big deal, Dad. I'm like, why not? So you have to understand that these kids have already been brainwashed into convenience, celebrity.
They're making these children early adopters.
Yes, and they give it to them so early for free. Like my brother's talking about, Android is damn near free. iPhone, you get the iPhone S, you'll get a free iPhone too. Trust me. But even right now, with those all the latest iPhone updates, were all about COVID and being around people with COVID and giving up your. It literally tells you is giving up your information to this. People are like, don't run that last update. Don't do this. Don't do that. And Look, we're not trying to drone on and beat you over the head, but you need to understand that if when you want to fuck somebody over, you do it gradually. If you come in and you just like, hey, we're gonna put this microphone in your house, you're like, nigga, please, what kind of bullshit is that? But if you do it gradually, if you tell me that all the stars have this kind of phone, if you tell me Lil Wayne has this phone, if you tell me that Galaxy this, Galaxy that, iPhone this, iPhone that, iPhone is better than Galaxy. So I'm buying $1,000 phone just to be better than everybody else, but I'm also selling my
It's
privacy in
a
the
hype
process
phone. Listen,
to
listen.
somebody else.
What's going on in that scenario is that you are a hype man for digital slave masters. Okay, you are basically dancing a jig and singing and dancing for somebody that is selling all of your goods. And they're doing it right under your nose, and you're happy to let them do it. But check this out. In 2014, there was a study, an experiment that was done by Facebook. It was called the Facebook Contagion Experiment. Now, using words and image manipulation, they influenced emotional responses in their users. This study and the paper that was printed or published in a very prestigious uh, journal. It said one of the behavioral scientists, one that worked for Facebook, and a behavioral scientist that was on I think he was a professor at Harvard, said we can change real world emotional responses with online cues. We know that we can do this without user awareness. So,
Mm.
what they are saying, if you can't read between those lines, is that thought control, thought manipulation, what they do online by putting images and pictures in front of you that they know that you'll like or that they know that you will hate, they know they can get a response out of you. And they can program at a certain time in conjunction with certain political events to bring about a certain political response. So in
Look,
2018,
it's called sublim.
hold on. In 2018, Cambridge Analytica was exposed for manipulating online Facebook posts related to the 2016 election. Money was put into driving divisiveness into the forefront, into shaping the view of the world that we live in so that it skews people on one side or the other of the political divide, driving a further wedge between the rich and poor, white and black, Republicans and Democrats. It's all a ruse. It is a puppet show in mass.
Look, going back to the late '50s, it was called subliminal. What they would do is you watch a video, and every 17th frame they would show something scary or they would show something disgusting, and people even you it's so fast that your your mind your conscious mind doesn't detect it, but your subconscious mind sees it, and it would dictate people's behavior later on. Well, they've been doing that for years. They'll post shit or they'll say something or they'll show something real quickly, and you don't realize that okay, that's influencing your emotions. That's influencing your buying. So during this commercial, you know, you're watching a commercial for Snickers, but every 24 frames, they might stick some pornography in there. You won't detect it, but you'll have a conditioned response like Pavlov's dog. You'll start having a response where you're aroused. You're like, oh man, this chocolate is mother. It's not the chocolate. It's the porn they snuck in there, and they've been doing these experiments for years. So it's not new information. It's not new technology. It's just been more refined in this current day and age with all the things that they have available to them, and that's how they manipulate your buying, your spending, even possibly your voting. And that's what we need to be looking at right now. Is how I feel about this candidate. Is it based on the facts or is it based on a conditioned response? Is it based on media bullying? Excuse me.
Okay, so surveillance capitalism is at work in ways that you really wouldn't think about. But things that drive it are the behavioral surplus or the data streams that are filled with predictive data. So they collect about things that you buy or things you consume, like your dining preferences. So they'll send you coupons for a restaurant in that area because they know where your IP address is telling you where you are. So then they'll send you coupons for an Italian restaurant because you shared a Facebook post about how you made spaghetti, or a Facebook post about how you like pizza. And then they'll use this information to then sell this to third party advertisers. And then what they're doing is they're selling predictive data. And this predictive data is what they would consider more important than a device themselves, because they can then drive you to a location, meaning drive your physical body to a location. And they call this economies of action. They use remote control means to automate your behavior to fulfill the commercial goals of others while giving you a pleasurable experience. That is some brave new world type shit right there. And gaming is a perfect example of this. As a matter of fact, recently there was a Pokemon Go augmented reality
Mm,
game. And in
mm.
this game, people would get up and they would go all about town looking for clues, looking for, for treasure and little nuggets of information, based on the game, right? What they were actually doing is they had a physical cosmetic game, Pokemon, on top of a shadow game underneath. Now, this was made by a company called Niantic Labs. And what this did is it drove people into economies of action. And they use lure modules. So it's kind of like a bait. Think of it as bait. So these lure modules are digital bait that lures you with rewards and punishments based on the game you're playing to get your physical body to a business. So your physical body is being driven to this business because you're following the lead of a game that has already recorded your behavioral data. So this game is customized to you, is tailored to you because you told them you like to eat pizza, you like to wear Adidas, you like hip hop music, and you like Cinnabon. So it's going to send you around on a mission into an area that has a Cinnabon, that has a Foot Action or a Foot Locker or an Athlete's Foot store, and it's going to send you to areas where you can, like, either buy hip hop music or hear hip hop music, or it's going to put a hip hop soundtrack underneath the gameplay. So all of this is being driven based on the data that you gave them. So if that device belongs to somebody else and you start playing that game, you'll be walking around town with your sister's phone, and
Different outcome.
it's a different outcome. Because then it's like, dude, why am I seeing My Little Pony? Why am I seeing like Dora the Explorer? I don't even like Legos. Like, why am I in front of a Taco Bell? I hate Taco Bell. Well, your sister likes all that stuff, and this is all data that's on her phone. So that's her digital shadow. Your digital shadow is on your phone or your device. And so you're so saturated with fun and convenience that you don't ask questions, that you don't question how this information is being used. Now, earlier, Duct Tape, you mentioned appliances and devices in the home. Well, Google has a security system called Google Nest, and Google Nest has a microphone in it. A lot of people don't know this. If you go and you look at the specs, if you look at the instructions when you get it, there's nothing in there that says anything about a microphone. Now, that microphone, that Google device is part of what is known now as the Internet of Things. Now, but we'll stay on Google Nest for a second before we get into that. The Google Nest,
Hold it,
hold on, hold on, hold on, hold
hey,
on.
hold it 1 second. What I was gonna say is that don't forget about you. You have LG appliances with Google with Android already in the front. You literally have a refrigerator that has Android. You literally have a wash machine with an Android computer or tablet on it. Why do I need a Why do I need an Android tablet on my refrigerator so I can play video games before I go to my refrigerator? No, they're monitoring what. This goes back to the Internet of Things. It's keeping track of everything you're doing, not just minor stuff, everything,
But think about
even your
this.
eating
But think
habits.
about this though. With that Google Nest microphone, it can record what time you're eating dinner, when you sit down
Mm,
at the dinner table, what your discussions are about. Are they political discussions? Because you might get up from that talk about Trump or the election at the dinner table to see a Trump 2020 advertisement on your refrigerator tablet. Now, here's the thing. Are you arguing? Who do you get along with? Which of your siblings are you arguing with? Are you arguing with your spouse? Now, there was a a girl. Let me back up. A grocery store in New York City that found out a young girl was pregnant based on the type of shampoo she was buying. So, she, up to a certain point,
mm.
bought fragrant shampoo, and because she became pregnant, her olfactory senses were heightened. Her sense of smell was heightened, so she toned down her shampoo to one that was neutral because she didn't want to smell too much. She didn't want something that was overpowering her senses. So she started buying this like neutral shampoo. This hospital started sending her all type of like prenatal ads for like different products that she could use and benefit from. Her father found out she was pregnant not from her, but from the grocery store
By her spending
by
habits.
her spending
Spending
habits
habits.
that were telling on her. And so he finally went to her and was like, "Are you pregnant?" She's like, "Yeah, but I wasn't going to tell you until later." He's like, "I already know." She's like, how do you know?" "The grocery store told me." And then, on and on and on. That right there shows how your spending habits, buying online, using credit cards, you're not doing anything anonymous when you do that. You are telling on yourself. This is why I am an advocate of
And
buying as much stuff as possible with cash. You want to buy as much stuff with cash as possible because you are invisible. Right now, because of this whole contact tracing, because of this whole coronavirus nonsense and quarantine, there have been so many businesses that won't accept cash. Ladies and gentlemen, that is against the law. They have to accept
they won't give
cash.
you change. That's a hustle. The whole idea that we don't have enough change. We had enough change yesterday. Why don't you have enough change today? That is to make you use your card. That is to talk
Right.
you into using a
And
credit
so, but
card
they
or
tied
debit
it they
card.
tied it in with the Federal Reserve, saying that because of the shortage of coins, we are therefore not giving out change. What do you mean a shortage of coins? Why is there a shortage of coins? This is like the French Revolution, where the Masons purposely caused a revolution by creating a false food shortage. The same thing is happening now with money and coins.
Hey, let me give you an example of this whole Internet of Things. Smartwatches, Fitbits. Of course, the iWatch, whatever. All this. So pay attention. They all have health monitors on them, so they can tell your blood
Oh
pressure,
boy.
your temperature, your heart rate, and everything else. Now go back to these other situations where, okay, so we can tell that they're watching a movie. Okay, they really like Marvel movies because their heart rate went up, or they were stunned, or they were surprised, or like you said before, they had a talk about Bernie Sanders, Trump, or the other guy running, whoever. So you're having these talks, but your heart rate goes up, your mouth dries. They can tell your blood pressure, so they're like, okay, cool. They like this person or they don't like this person. We will send them advertisements for the Democratic Party. But that's giving away so much information where they can actually figure out what you're into. Now go back to arguing with your sister. How about this? If they wanted to plan a murder on you, they can see who you have beef with. If that person gets killed, they were like, well, you in the area. They can make up shit. What was the movie?
Minority Report.
Minority Report. We share the same brain. Minority Report. Prime example. They were prosecuting people on intent because somebody saw the future and they said this person was going to do this. Well, how do you know they can't do that to you now, or how do you know they can't plan a murder on you now? We're giving up so much information for convenience. Well, my doctor knows what my heart rate was at 12 o'clock. Look, but if you ain't a patient, why are you worried about that?
Hold on, hold on. You just
We're,
said
we're,
something right there. You just said something right there. If you're not a patient, why are you worried about it? Bruh, bruh.
They're convincing you that it's an issue. They've convinced you that,
That
hey
you're
man,
always
shit,
sick.
my
That
doctor
you're
said
always sick when you're not sick.
always sick. Yeah. And so that's why this COVID thing is so special. Okay, I get it. We don't like these conservative guys. I don't give a fuck. I care about the truth. All these conservative guys, even Ron Paul, he's retired, but he was a medical doctor before he became a congressman. He's telling you the numbers aren't there. These people aren't dying in the numbers of all these other diseases we've been fighting for years. The numbers are the same. Now that's it. COVID has a 98% recovery rate. I get that's not what you want to hear, and I get that any death is a bad thing. Any death, you don't want anybody dying. But if you do the numbers, all these other diseases we've been fighting for years were way worse. But if they can use this to force you to go buy some shit, if they can use this to, hey man, increase your health care, if they can use this to, hey man, the natural shit don't work on this, you got to go get a shot. That's the hustle. So, but like I said, let's look at all the physical fallout. Let's look at the fiscal fallout of how, again, like my brother said, like all of a sudden they ain't got change. Okay, everybody kept asking, why is everybody buying toilet paper? Why is there a run on toilet paper? Well, how about this? Why is there a run on nickels and quarters? What the fuck did COVID do to the physical money? Like I can't get my change. I buy something for $1.50. I give you $2. Like we ain't got no change. How the fuck did that happen? They're creating this bullshit. And again, based on how you see things, some of the young kids won't even care about that, but the older people, they'll be outraged. Trust me. All you gotta do is tell an old person you ain't giving them their 50 cent, they will whoop your ass. I bet you if we had an old guy right now that had a fucking Apple Watch on right, and you didn't give him his 25 cents back, he would have a conniption, probably have a heart attack right there. So that tells you that this is manipulation on the highest level, and your data is was funding it. Your data is what's pushing this, and they're selling your data, but they're also using it against you in the same way. And like my brother said with the Pokemon Go, that was some deep shit. Like you're not even getting your real prize. It's not a casino. Like you're not in a casino winning real money. You're in a virtual casino, not even winning real money, but they're disciplining you, punishing you, and rewarding you based on your action. And your action is to go to a fucking a latte shop and get a Pokemon. But while you're there, you're gonna spend money. Of
Right.
course you
And your
would.
pathway is determined based on your behavioral habits they've recorded.
Look,
So let's get back on the
I'm telling
internet.
you that.
Let's get back on the internet of things for a second. So, okay, when you look at all the appliances in an ultra modern house, I'm not even talking about like, middle class people. I'm talking about upper middle class to like rich, wealthy people. When you walk into one of these homes, you see a $4,000 refrigerator. That refrigerator has
Mm.
it has cameras on the inside, so you don't even have to open the door. Okay, the house has Alexa in it, or it has Siri, you know what I'm saying, on the phone connected to the home system, or they have a Google Nest. And these things, what you're doing is you're putting these devices in between you and comfort, in between you and privacy, because really your domicile is where you should be the most intimate and private. And you're putting more and more people between you and your privacy, and that is a hell of a problem. So the problem though is that when you buy these appliances, these new smart appliances, they come with a privacy policy, and people, like it or not, whether you know it or not, you're held hostage by that privacy policy that's issued by the appliance manufacturer, and they take no responsibility for the third-party information that's so. Excuse me, I got a burp. They take no responsibility for the data that's sold to third-party companies, and so because of that, they're recording everything about you. Your television snitches on you all the time. This was a news story like 5 years ago when these smart TVs first started coming out, and these dorks at the Geek Squad down at Best Buy were watching people at home have sex in front of their television in their living room. They would turn the TV on automatically, they would turn the microphone automatically, and record these people having sex. It says in a Samsung television manual, TV manual, it's like halfway through, they're like page 30 something. When you go in there and you look, it says, if you need to have a discreet conversation, do not have it in front of this television. What? I can't talk in front of my TV because I'm being recorded. The wiretaps are now in your house. The wiretaps are, we are bringing
Integrated into your home.
we're bringing wiretaps into our own home and snitching on ourselves. That we have become cemented into a snitch culture that started with September 11th. That started with September 11th and the rise of the surveillance state, which was cemented by Google in 2002. But what I want to say about these appliances is that they're sold to third party manufacturers. Many of these third party companies that are buying this data, this big data as they call it, are in Israel. In July of 2016, Benjamin Netanyahu, he gave a talk at a tech conference to a bunch of Israeli tech companies. And he began talking about how, 10 years ago, most of the biggest and wealthiest companies in the world were energy companies. He says now all of the most wealthy companies in the world now are tech companies. And he said, and all of those tech companies have quote unquote research facilities in Israel. And now those research facilities are buying big data, metadata from the Internet of Things, from your toaster, from your television, from your shower, from your water purifier, from your washing machine, from your refrigerator. All these things inside of your house has the world peeping in on you, recording all your information, leading and guiding you where you should go, what you should buy. It is a brave new world, and the Illuminati has won. They are controlling everything. They don't want money. They want power and control. And you're asking, well, dude, why are you going there with it? Why are you saying that it's them? Because at the end of the day, there are a small handful of companies that own everything. Alphabet, the company that owns Google, okay, is backed by the CIA. All right? A lot of these large corporations with this limitless power, they're like the robber barons from the industrial age. But now they're operating on antitrust laws that are 100 years
Mm.
old and they're outdated. On July 29th of this year, they were summoned to Capitol Hill in a hearing and questioned by lawmakers, Apple, Amazon, Facebook, and Google. And in this hearing, they were grilled. And the outcome of the hearing was that the government needs to update the antitrust laws because these people are getting away with a whole lot of murder. Jeff Bezos, days before that hearing, he made 13 billion in one day. Amazon made 13 billion in one day. Just think about that for a second. That's happening.
I,
Hold on. Let me finish this out. That's happening because of the quarantine. That's happening because of everybody is in their house and they're forced to stay at home and like stay in place and all this quarantine in place and all this nonsense, right? And
oh
don't
no.
hold on, hold
Hey,
on, hold
check
on.
this out.
Wait. Don't use cash. Don't use cash because we don't have change. so
Oh
so
no,
so
no.
so you have to use your
Hey,
credit card because we want to track it and contact tracing. So we want to know where you are and if you're sick and what's wrong and you know what, wear your Fitbit so we can see what your heart rate is and how's your sex life? Are you having sex? You know what? Hey, this porn channel that we know you like, we're gonna pull up your last three searches and give you more options based on your search history. And then
people
here,
don't realize how big Pornhub is. Pornhub is huge because of that.
yes,
It's craziness.
yes,
Look, the funniest thing on Facebook, I see a bunch of memes about, hey, buy more stamps. The post office is running out of money. Post office is running out of money. And I even heard somebody talking about it. I'm walking down the street like, damn, man, the post office, man, look. So I talked to this dude. I'm leaving one of my meetings. I'm talking to that guy. I work with his wife, and he's like, "Man, I work for the post office. We're not in trouble." I said, "What are you talking about, man? I'm seeing it everywhere. We got to buy more stamps." He said, "Nah, man." He said, "Duct tape right now with the quarantine. Everybody's at home right now. Everybody's ordering shit off of Amazon. Everybody's ordering shit from Wish. Everybody's ordering shit from Prime and Amazon Prime and this, that, and the other. Everybody's ordering things from eBay." He said, "Man, we're doing crazy business." He said what it is that you got to remember the post office is still a government organization that's privately run. So sometimes they want these government subsidies. What happened was they bought a bunch of new vans, those Mercedes vans, the Sprinter van, the one that was developed with Daimler Chrysler and Mercedes when they were together. So the post office has bought a bunch of these vans. I think it was 95. I was working for a cable company, and it was in Oklahoma, and so I'm working for them, and I'm helping this lady with her box. Her box has already been set up, it's been installed. Well, then she was having some issues, so she kept saying, did I do that right? Am I doing it right? I'm like, well, ma'am, I don't know. I can't see you. She said she honestly believed back in 94, 95 that they could see you through the cable box. She was like, yeah, I keep my cable box in the living room. I don't have one in my bedroom because I'm afraid that you guys can see me. So somewhere along the line, she had read that technology was going that way. And this is back in 94, 95. Now, here's how they get you. They would have called that woman a conspiracy theorist. Fast forward 20 years, it's happening for real. They can see you through your devices. Right now, the way they get you with conspiracy and theory, they put those two words together, and they make you sound crazy. But the fact of the matter is, take off the theories. The theory part is conspiracy. It's the same way, kind of like the word anti-Semitic. People are afraid of being called anti-Semitic, or people are afraid of being called racist. And so by doing that, you don't even put your thoughts out there. If you're a white person, you can't even say nothing bad about a black person because it's like, no, it's not racist. But that you're scared of that word. Well, that term conspiracy theory has got a lot of people kept a lot of people quiet. And this goes back to the whole Pokemon thing. You don't even have a physical reward. You understand me? You don't They can't even physically discipline you, but because of that, well, that's the same way with these words. These certain words, you don't want to be accused of being that kind of person. Hell, you got people that are pedophiles, they don't give a fuck. But you got somebody, I'm afraid of being a racist. Like, you got the ACLU arguing over these people's rights, but like I said, people are terrified of certain words and don't want to be associated with them. Well, that's the whole thing with conspiracy theory. You have legitimate people that have observed stuff or seen stuff, or they've had experience that they probably should share with somebody, and they'll find out that somebody else has had a similar experience. But because of that word conspiracy theory, or that you're just a conspiracy theorist, you don't know what you're talking about, they'll back away. Look, when you talk about this Internet of Things and this virtual stuff, a lot of the punishments, a lot of the rewards are not physical, but they're still just as powerful in the person's psyche. That's why when they harvest this information about you, and they can see how you respond to stuff you through like visual stimulus or slight stimulus or emotional stimulus, and you respond physically, that means it's real to you, and that they have the ability to mine this information and make you go spend money. You have real world money that is based on your emotional response, and that you get yourself to physically go and do stuff. Like, you pick a store, whatever. The bottom line is that sometimes that was, that was manipulation. You don't realize it was manipulation. So we're saying that this virtual world has real life, real world effects and real world consequences. Um,
Okay, hang on a second. So let's talk about the real world consequence for a second. So there was a journalist who died years ago. He worked for the Rolling Stone, and he wrote a article about General McChrystal and his handling of the Afghanistan war, the war in Afghanistan, and his defiance against the president at that time, who was Barack Obama. And this reporter died under mysterious circumstances. It was said that he lost control of his car and it drove into a tree and exploded. Now, his car featured a type of technology that prevents the car from running outside of lanes and preventing the car from getting into car accidents, or what you call an
yeah,
anti-collision.
lane
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
lane
There's
assist, and all
lots of
that
different
stuff.
words for the shit, but it's basically it takes control over your car. Well, in that same year, months before this guy died, it was shown that hackers were able to take over the navigation and the mechanical handling of a Jeep Grand Cherokee. And they drove this car remote control from a distant location. It shows that technology can be used to control vehicles. So let's just lay it out there so everybody understands the full scope and the lay of the land. You, on your body, you have a phone. And that phone provides all the information that anybody needs to get from you. All they need are the resources to get inside that phone and take your information. What will they get? They'll find out what your sexual orientation is because of the dating websites you go to and the porn sites that you go to. They'll find out what your health situation are because of your prescription receipt information that you use to pay with a credit card when you go to the pharmacy. And sidebar, don't go to the pharmacy trying to pick anybody up. Guys, if you see a hot chick in line at the pharmacy, think twice. Okay, that is not the place to pick somebody up. You don't know what kind of medicine they're picking up. Okay, so just sidebar. Anyway, the type
Too
of
late. Too
yeah,
late.
the food you eat, the friends you have, your political views, all these things are just on your phone. Now, let's think about all the other entry points there are to attack you. Your vehicle. Okay, Ford was one of the first to start putting computers in their cars with the navigation, and then it became Wi-Fi, all right, and Bluetooth, and USB ports, and all these different things that are related to the steering of the vehicle and anti-collision technology. That's just your vehicle, all right. And so now you have your home, and you get to your home and you have your appliance. What greets you at the front door? Amazon, Google, Siri, some digital assistant that welcomes you when you walk in the front door. The lights are controlled on a timer by the smart home or by the device that's controlling your home. So there's the lights. So you go to the refrigerator, which takes a picture of you as you approach the refrigerator. Your refrigerator has a camera on the inside and microphones. Man, you better believe it has microphones because you were smart enough to disable the microphone in the Google Nest, but you weren't smart enough to think that there might be a microphone planted in the refrigerator. Of course it is. It's going to hear your conversation and sell that metadata to third-party companies. Now, so there's your refrigerator. All right. So then you go over and you're standing by the stove, and you got a toaster. Your toaster has Wi-Fi in it. Why the fuck does your toaster? Why do you need a smart toaster? I just need it for my Eggo waffles. I just need it for toast or but for bagels. I don't need it for nothing else. Right? So you ask yourself, like,
Too late.
why is this going? What other points are there of attack are there inside my home? Oh, there's plenty. There's your washer and dryer. Your washer and dryer has Wi-Fi. Your washer and dryer, your washer and dryer have a privacy policy that you signed off on when you bought the device, like it or not. Okay? Now here's the thing. You are held hostage to these manufacturers because they won't offer any more upgrades, or they will void the warranty if you don't sign the privacy policy or you don't continue to get any more upgrades. So because of this, the functionality of your device is challenged or compromised because you're wising up to what's going on. Your thermostat in your house, controlling the temperature in your home. Are you turning it up? Are you turning it down? Well, here's an ad on your in your email for some sweaters. Because you want to be a cheap bastard, you don't want to turn the heat up and make everybody warm in your house. Because you got 7 people in the house, you're trying to be cheap and keep the bill down. So we're going to send sweaters to everybody because they're miserable. You have all these points. You have the security system in your home. You have the security system in your home to determine if you're safe. Okay, so say you piss off the people who you sell buy the thermostat from, and you're not getting their upgrades no more, and you happen to piss somebody off. Well, they're just going to turn off your security system and send a message out to criminals that your home is not secure and there's nobody there. They're away on vacation. Or if you are on vacation, you're on Facebook telling everybody your damn business. I'm in Maui doing it big. I just got a new 57-inch TV. I got a new Challenger parked in my garage. Dummy, you have just told everybody about all your new shit you got, about how you got a safe in your closet, but you're not at home to defend against none of this shit. You have just helped and abated criminals. Okay? All these points of attack there are just there. Okay, and then you've communicated too much because you got too soft with this convenience. You are cowards, soft in your comfort with all this convenience, and you have not put up no fight because you've been pacified into a casket.
It's not that you're soft; it's the fact that you
Oh, they
think
soft. They
that
soft. They soft.
because you watch MTV Cribs, you watch Lifestyle the Rich or Famous, you want to do the same thing. You have celebrities who make money doing this, so you imitate them, not realizing you're giving away all your information. That person's making money off this. Something funny that you brought up earlier, you made several good points. So how about this? Suppose you're a father and you didn't turn up the heat. And suppose that you were trying to like, hey, man, I got to save money. We got a bunch of kids in the house. Well, all of a sudden, if Google just sends a bunch of free stuff and those kids like get sweaters and coats, they just undermined your authority. And all of a sudden, the kids is looking up to Google, worshiping them, and not looking up to the parents. Or how about the fact that you named a lot of good shit, so much, but look, here's the deal. What we're trying to say is that the risk reward ain't there. You guys are risking way more than the reward is by entering into these contracts with these different things. As for like, for instance, what he was saying about the upgrades. Look, why do you need an upgrade? Why do you need that? Why do you need this? It's because that you're giving them permission and you're letting them into your world. Well, we all still have our Atari 2600s. We still have our Nintendo NESs. Ain't none of them got updates and they still work. So what is this update thing that they're talking about? So many things that we've had in the past never had updates, and that's because people respected your privacy. They didn't want to be involved in your life so much. And I get it. You know, it started with these video games. That was the hustle with the video games. That's how they started doing it with the video games. Like, hey, we're upgrading the gameplay. We're adding more features. So download. So that's how they condition you early on. They give you stuff as children. So then when you become an adult, you have these terms and you're familiar with the terms. Same thing with the iPhones, and that's how they started running updates. Man, we had Palm Trios that never had an update.
But
We had phones that never had.
let me ask you this though. Didn't it used to freak you out when your phone would turn off by itself and then turn back on?
Piss you the fuck off. How about that? Look, it'll drive you batshit crazy. Like, man, I wasn't done with that conversation. How about this? Let's go back to MySpace. You remember? I remember the first time. I remember when you heard about viruses, but they really didn't matter to you. I remember being on MySpace and that Michelangelo virus was out there, and it was fucking people up. And I'm like,
oh, I was
dude,
like, yo, must be fucked up. Too bad for you.
Yeah, and so my company gave out like free updates. Like, hey, we're updating everybody's internet, and we'll give you a free thing to fix that because we don't want you accessing your computer from home or sending an email to work with that shit. So we give you. So that's how big that was. I wanted to whoop that nigga's ass. I remember when they showed him on CNN. I'm like, man, dude, it was like a fat white guy with a ponytail. I'm like, man, if I seen you. I remember like I was talking to this chick on MySpace, and then all of a sudden the Michelangelo virus hit my computer. Oh my lord, I was pissed off to the highest of festivity. But what I'm saying is that a lot of the terminology now we got accustomed to back then, or you started getting accustomed to that stuff as a child. So when they lay it on you now, you were already augmented to it. You were already it was already like not new to you, and it doesn't bother you. But when you actually read this shit, you should be offended. I remember Ron Paul one time they had asked him, "Why do you vote against so many of these bills?" I read them. I read the entire thing. If you read this entire thing, you can't possibly vote for it as an American or as a human being because this is going to mess people up. So we like to be ignorant on purpose because then it's not our fault. But when you actually start reading these privacy statements, when you actually start reading what they're updating to your phone, what they're updating to your computer, you're going to say no. But if you say no, you don't get your porn, you don't get a shot from home, you don't get this, you don't get that. And again, it's not even real money. None of that shit is real money. None of that shit is real. It's just virtual stuff.
That's the whole think about this stuff. But think about how much money can be made right now, is being made right now from things that are not built. It is amazing how much
physical that are not physical.
Listen, and that's the problem, like with the United States right now, because especially with the coronavirus, happening the way it did, and most of the pharmaceuticals being made in China. When all these things are being made in China, became an issue with the tariff wars created by Trump against the Chinese. So the thing is that like we realize that there's nothing made here, that everything that we're doing goes into the hype machine, is created by the hype machine. So it's entertainment. Hold on, hold on. But hold
Okay,
on.
hold
But
on.
wait.
Don't leave that.
Hold on, hold on.
Yeah, don't leave that point. That's all I
I
was gonna
won't.
say.
I'm no. Because we're exporting entertainment to the world. Okay, and we're selling
Mm-hmm.
our data to third-party manufacturers. And if you really think about it, we are living the matrix. Now we are living the matrix, but the pods, and this is why I call that episode, so many back, cocoon technology, because our homes and our heads are our cocoons, just like they were in pods in the matrix. And this parasite is feeding off of us from all of our likes and dislikes and all of our emotional outbursts and our opinions and our taste in music and cinema. All these things are fueling something that is making money off of us, that is feeding from our energy, just like the Matrix, and how it broke it down to BTUs. It said that each human puts out X amount of BTUs, which fed this alien life force.
They
This
were
is
they were a battery. They were just
we are,
batteries
and
to
we
them.
are a battery. We are a battery of data. We are a battery of data that is feeding on us. There's something there's a huge behemoth, a multinational corporation, Google, Amazon, Apple, Facebook. They're parasites feeding on our data, and our digital shadow is what they have been chasing around all over the place because we are just leaving these footprints, these breadcrumbs of information for them to follow. What do you got to say about that?
Look, going back to the whole trade war, I remember. Well, here's what frustrated me. So Trump's putting tariffs on China, which I have no problem with. But you got people love to politicize stuff. So you got all these like liberals. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. I'm like, he's telling you by doing that, you got to understand that we're not making anything over here. This goes back to Jimmy Carter and our dependence on foreign oil. America could be self-sufficient on so many levels, but we're trying to include other people in the wealth, so they want to be included in democracy. But the fact of the matter is that every time something goes wrong, they shut us off. They close us out. So look, what pissed me off is that you're talking to somebody. I'm talking to a mutual friend of ours. He's like, Trump was wrong for doing this. It's this, and this. I'm like, dude, like, what are you basing that on? I'm like, let's have this conversation. What he did is like, we don't export anything but entertainment. We're not physically. We export a few cars, but once those cars get built, they start building the company. They start building factories over there. So we're not really exporting that. You know what I'm saying? So we're not really exporting anything, and we're importing everything. And what we're exporting is like music and stuff like that. A lot of that stuff ain't tangible no more. And China steals everything that you send over there. So what did Trump do wrong? I'm not a Trump fan. I'm not, tell me what he's doing wrong. And he told me that duct tape. You don't know what you're talking about. This. I'm like, dude, my degree is economics and finance. I fully am prepared to have this conversation. I'm like, stop reciting what you heard on CNN because you see something and you spit it out doesn't mean it's fact. So I'm like, let's have a conversation. In the long run, we saw that what you're saying is so deep about this pharmaceutical part, because how do you trust these people who don't like you to give you medicine? Like we deal with that on the black and white level in America. Like, hey, I'm a black person. You trust that? Well, how do you trust China, who's supposed to be our biggest enemy right now? China and Russia are our enemies. Now, Russia ain't got no money. Russia ain't shit. China is who you need to be afraid of. So how do you trust them to give you medicine? How do you trust them to give you what you need to survive? Nah, look, again, what it is you're more. I remember somebody told me, a young cat was like, hey, man, we need China. We couldn't afford iPhones. We couldn't afford those if they didn't. I'm like, dude, they damn near have slave labor. Either you're way up here or you're way down here. So you mean to tell me having an iPhone means that much to you that you want to condone fucking somebody over like that? That's about this risk reward shit. You are more worried about having this physical object that really you can't eat it, you can't do shit with. You can talk to somebody, but okay, why don't you go see them? It's a mental hustle. They're selling you some shit that don't exist. It's the fugazi. It's the shell game. Like, okay, the ball's over here. They are fucking you, and you're giving them permission. And that's what this is about. Stop giving people permission to fuck you. Stop bending over and then crying about the pain. You see this shit coming. You need to fight it off. And stop thinking that, okay, it's easier than this, or I'm not as smart as my kids. Too many of us are learning from our kids, and we're not giving them anything back. No, your kids are just showing you how to work a damn phone. That ain't shit. You know what I'm saying? Pay attention and teach your kids. Like I had to talk to my daughter about socialism, and I keep talking to her about it, and her mom is like, "Well, yeah, it wasn't applied right." So how come you can say socialism was applied right, but you can't say capitalism was applied right? Or how about this? Let me ask you. Let me ask you a question. So if we had socialism, and you're saying that the government's bad right now, and the government is this, the government's that, and they're fucking everybody over. Well, who decides this shit under socialism? The government? And my daughter's eyes got so yes, you're asking for more government under socialism. What it is, these are people trying to sound smart. I got a good friend that keeps talking about this shit. What you got to understand is that they are preparing you for giving you some bullshit later on. So we need to bust out of that shit, wake the fuck up, and defend ourselves. Stop looking for what's easy, because sometimes what's hard is necessary. Pain is necessary. For a woman to give birth is pain, but what's on the other side is a beautiful child, and hopefully one day be president, or hopefully one day be. I don't give a fuck, but that potential is there, and you have to go through the pain to receive something. So stop talking about what hurts. Stop talking about what's difficult, because we're giving up our souls for convenience, my nigga. I'm just trying to tell you that's how it is. I didn't mean to talk that long. It's your turn. Go ahead.
No. It's good. I mean, you went on a fucking rant that like was actually needed because I mean, earlier I said we are allowing entry points, so many entry points into our home, and what I see people need to do is they don't need a smart house. First of all, say no to a smart house. You don't want a smart house. You want a dumb house. You know why? Because a dumb house is nice and quiet. And I'll explain that. When a storm happens, everybody listening to this show has experienced a storm in their lives. When a storm happens and the light goes out, it feels like the earth took a big sigh of relief. There's a quiet stillness that you only experience when you go deep into the forest. When there's no cars, when there's no electricity, when there's no hair dryers, no video games, no televisions, no nothing. And it's just you and the earth. And that's what you feel when a storm knocks the power out. Okay? That's what your house is without all the electronics. It is a domicile. It is a place that protects you from nature. It is the roof over your head, the wall that keeps your family together. Okay?
And that's all it is. It shouldn't be anything more than that.
Now, facts, church. But here's the thing. We keep inviting too many people into our homes. And you are inviting strangers into your homes to spy on you. Now, you are being an exhibitionist without realizing it. An exhibition is like a person who likes to show off and have
Wow.
sex in front of people. Okay?
Yeah,
And
sure, yeah.
and
Flashing.
and
Yep,
listen,
yep.
no matter how churchy you want to be, all your business is out there in the street. Now, black folks, we know your mama told you, your papa told you, your ground folks told you. Don't put your business in the streets. All right? Don't nobody need to know what's going on inside this house outside. What goes on inside this house is our business and nobody else. Well, guess what? Each time you buy a smart appliance, you are giving more and more strangers a door into your house while you are sleeping, as a matter of fact. They're going through all your shit. Imagine that. Imagine you laying in the bed, knocked out. Your wife knocked out because you knocked her out. You know what I'm saying? Your kids knocked out because they've been playing all day, doing kid stuff. You know what I mean? And they had a good dinner. Everybody's smiling, everybody happy, everybody's sleeping and dreaming, having a good sleep. Good sleep. Meanwhile, you got foreigners all up in the house. You got crackheads all up in the house. You got all these fancy MIT people all up in your house, going through all of your shit, going through your drawers, going through your wallet, looking through the clothes, looking at your TV, your movie collection, going through your music collection, going through all of your shit while you sleeping. Would you really allow people to do that? Because that is what's happening. And you have to take that view to really understand what is happening to you. Duct Tape said you're giving people permission to fuck you, and that's true. How about you stop doing that? How about you pay attention to all these privacy disclaimers that you agree to? Read them. And as a matter of fact, let's take it a step further. Stop putting your real name on every goddamn thing. Okay? Stop putting your real name on email accounts. Stop putting your real name on like internet accounts. Stop putting your real name on shit that you know that has no real consequence. Dude, I'll tell y'all, I got like 7 different email accounts. All of them got different names on them. You know why? Because I fucking know better. And it ain't nobody's business about what I be talking about. All right? That's how I fucking roll. And pay for stuff with cash. I run into people every day that tell me I don't carry cash on me. You need to carry cash on you. All right? Stop being a scared little field mouse. All right? And carry some cash so you can make anonymous transactions. I cannot tell you how many dumb motherfuckers will try to buy weed on Cash App. Okay? How many dumb
Man,
motherfuckers?
hold it. Hold on. How about the card the government sent out? You got people making actual drug deals with it. I can't. My children had a square, and they were running. They're selling weed, and they're running the credit card between the square. I'm like, you're what?
Idiots.
That's not gangster. That's not gangster. That's what? Okay, you made some good points. There's 2 more points I just want to add to it. One, Facebook will fuck you over by giving away your location. One time I'm at work and I logged into my iPad and this chick I was dating was like, "Hey, so I see where you're at. You're at such and such." I'm like, "How the fuck do you know?" Because we don't know about Facebook. This is when Facebook. This is over 10 years ago. No, maybe not because iPad is probably 7 years ago. And I'm logged in and I had a homeboy where again he opened up a Facebook account and this chick is telling him where he is. He's like, "Man, what am I doing wrong?" I said, "You got to get rid of your Facebook account. You're logged into Facebook on your phone. It's going to tell everybody where you at." And he said this girl's telling him where he is. He was freaking out. I'm like, "Yeah, Facebook will betray you." And if you a player, that ain't good business. "Oh no, baby, I'm at home asleep." Well, it says you at Cindy's Wi-Fi. Who's Cindy? Why are you using her Wi-Fi? Oh shit, Facebook will betray you. Number two, uh, number two, we're talking about, say your internet choices. Say that you're looking at porn. How do you know that can't be used to blackmail somebody? Hey, you're a preacher. You're looking at what you want. But if all it takes is a company like, "Hey, man, we saw you looking at gay
Delete your
porn.
history. Delete your
Pastor
history.
Jenkins, we will reveal this to your congregation if you don't tell them to vote such and such." Or people will sit there and they actually have blackmail software that's locks your computer down. If you don't send us $500, we'll release you can't even log into your computer. They literally have it where you can't log into your computer until you send them money, and they'll tell like, "Hey, we'll let everybody know what you're looking at. You've been looking at porn." So if you're a soft-minded person and you got a lot of money, you could be fucked. So look, I'm gonna tell you like this: if your computer breaks, toss that motherfucker out. Call somebody to fix it. Start over, whatever you got to do, but don't sit here and cave in because, like I said, you're giving people keys to your home. And what my brother Roscoe was saying is telling y'all is like, look, privacy is actually precious. It's so precious that everybody is trading your privacy. They're buying and selling your privacy, and it don't mean shit to you. Pay attention. I don't want to say wake up or be woke. Fuck that. I'm not going that route. What I'm saying is be a fucking adult and recognize that what these old people were teaching you is still relevant in this day and age. And that's the first thing that everybody wants to say, that old shit don't matter. It still matters. It matters so much that they're making money off you from it. Yeah, I'm out. I'm cool with it. What you got to say, bro?
Well, I want to say that that was a lot. You said you said a lot, dude. You had a lot to
I'm
say.
sorry.
No, no,
I
no,
was
no.
piggybacking off you though. I was jumping off what you said though. I'm
No,
just
no, no,
like
no.
giving
It's
specifics.
dope. I mean, don't apologize. That was good shit. I mean, especially like like people talking about how, Facebook is telling on them like, no, motherfucker, like your problem is you got a smartphone and you dumb as hell. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't know how to be smarter than the appliances that you're using, the devices that you're using. Like first of all, like delete your history, your search history. Do that for YouTube, any video site you watch. Delete your search history. Delete your browser history, okay? Even on your phone, delete that shit. Stop having a bunch of tabs open. Close them bitches, all right? How about you use some muscle
Oh
memory
my
in your
God.
head and like go back and just like remember, okay, I got to go and like, go visit this page again, blah blah blah. And then here's another thing. Practice fasting from social media and devices. All right? If you are going to a place and say it's a movie theater, say you want to be at peace for 2 hours, leave your phone in the car, okay? Because you went there to check out a society for a second and be entertained. Turn the phone off, put it in your car. All right? Here's another thing. I once went on vacation with this chick, and we were away from the U.S. We were outside of U.S. territory, and I'm asking her, I'm like, why do you have your phone with you? Just in case an emergency happens. What the fuck are you gonna do? You are 1,400 miles away from the contiguous U.S. right now. There is
You
nothing
cannot physically do
you
shit.
can't physically
You can't
do
do
a
shit.
goddamn thing. Okay, leave the phone in the hotel. All right, because you can't do shit right now. All right, all you're gonna do is pick up the phone and cry about something happened to somebody. Let's wait until we get back to the hotel for all that bullshit to happen. Because I don't want to be bummed
Hold it
out
and ruin your trip. That
and
can
ruin,
ruin your trip. The whole
bruh.
point of a vacation is to get away from that.
Getaway. It's called a getaway for a
That's the
reason.
point.
It's called a getaway. So I recommend everybody have a social
Mm.
media fast, an electronic fast, and heal your body, heal your spirit and mind, and get right for a second. And listen, if you can't afford to do that to like for a whole day, do it for 3 hours. 3 hours. And you know what it feels like. It's the feeling you get when you realize you left your phone at home and you can't go back for it. Where it's like, man, I actually felt good today. Like I made it through a whole day and I felt good. When we was kids, man, we would go out, play, come back home. Nobody said anything about a fucking phone. There was an answering machine and it had messages on that bitch. You could listen to an answering machine. Okay? If you couldn't figure out who it was, you could start 69 them motherfuckers. The point is that do not be so reliant on technology because as you can see, it's betraying you. It has been betraying you because you're not smart enough to figure out how to turn it off and how to create a fake digital shadow or a fake straw man so that these people that are buying all your data, these third party companies that are buying your data, are they're using it to create a digital shadow of you so they can find you, track you, and control you, as you can see with the Facebook contagion experiment. And y'all need to go look that up. The Facebook contagion experiment. All right. And you will see that they are controlling the opinions, moods, and emotions of people in the real world by stuff that they have online. So, what you got to do is do some reading. All right. There's a book called The Four, Four, The Hidden DNA of Amazon, Apple, Facebook, and Google. The author's name is Scott Galloway. He also wrote a paper, or excuse me, an article for the Business Insider called The Algebra of Happiness. And it details how these companies are using your data to control you. They're pimping you out to third party companies and they take no responsibility for what happens to that data. The next, and a very good one, is a book called The Age of Surveillance Capitalism by Shoshana Zuboff. Get that book, own it, have it in your collection, read it. It has tremendous, invaluable information in it. Um, what I want to say is that you have to be vigilant and protect yourself and protect your family. And you do that by being mindful of these relationships you create with tech companies by buying their devices. When you buy the devices, you are signing a contract. All right. When you sign this contract, you are giving away information. That privacy policy that you agree to gives away all your information. Now we just told you where the information is going and how it's being used against you in like even like subversive stuff like Pokemon Go, where pedophiles were using where they're using Pokemon Go to track down little kids. So again, be careful with your data because your digital shadow is always following you. You got anything else?
Nah, look, it's this is something that's really important, and people don't think it's important because What, you're not hearing about it anywhere else. We're telling you, you're getting fucked. Pay attention, teach your kids right, and don't be manipulated by somebody who doesn't care about you. That's all I gotta say. Holla.
We out. Peace.